Good evening. Welcome. Nice to be back here among y'all. Once again, I am apparently not Laura. She is away and will be back next week. So tonight again, you have me. And it's absolutely a pleasure. For those who don't know, my name is Ken Sigman. I am a meditation teacher, apparently, in Florida. And I'm the teacher at Gulf Coast Insight Meditation in the Tampa Bay area. And somewhere along the line, I'll put on my website so you can find out more about that if you want to. I do some other teachings online, and I do some other in-person stuff, which is also streamed online. So at any rate, enough about me. Tonight, we're going to continue what we started last week, which is a surf through the Brahma Viharas, which to me are the essential teachings on how to walk through the world as a Buddhist. They're also known as the four qualities of boundless compassion, the four abodes, the four noble states. And they are loving kindness or goodwill, which is known as metta, compassion or karuna, sympathetic joy or mudita, and equanimity. And there's a chant that goes along with the Brahma Viharas. It says, may you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May you have happiness and the causes of happiness. May you never be separated from sorrowless joy that is beyond suffering. And may you live in equanimity without attachment or aversion to other sentient beings. Now, last week we talked about the first two, loving kindness or metta, and compassion or karuna. Tonight we're going to talk about sympathetic joy, or mudita, and equanimity. They're all tied together. But first, let's meditate for 25 minutes or half an hour. So I invite you to find a comfortable, hello to the dog. My cat's over there behind me. I invite you to find a comfortable meditation posture. And that is a posture in which you can be comfortable, relaxed, and alert at the same time. If you're sitting up, the meditation posture includes sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. Some people prefer to lie down. They have back issues or whatever. In that case, it's suggested that you have your arm at a 90-degree angle with your hand in the air, so that if you fall asleep, your hand comes down, wakes you up. But for now, we're going to talk about sitting posture. You want to be straight, but not like rigid straight, not tense. Get your back in its natural curve so your body can relax. It's like your arms and your shoulders are just kind of like hanging off your body. You can rest your hands in your lap, either in the mudra of contemplation or just resting in your lap, either palms up or palms down. And if you were to like tuck in your chin just a little bit, and if you had like a string at the crown of your head tugging up just a little bit, that would straighten the top of your spine without straining the muscles in your neck. And I invite you to lower your gaze just down the bridge of your nose. And gently close your eyes. And let's start with a few slow, deep breaths. About 3/4. Just receiving the in-breath. And when you breathe out any tension or holding or stress you may be holding in your body. Breathe out and just let your eyes rest in their sockets, and they will naturally roll back if you're not trying to look at anything. Relaxing the muscles in your face, they do a lot of work. Slow, deep breath in. Slow breath all the way out. Continuing on the out breath to relax and soften to whatever degree you can. There are no musts, no have tos. It doesn't need to be any different than it is. Letting your breathing return to normal. And continuing on the out breath to continue to relax and soften. Letting go of any tension you may be holding in your shoulders. As much as you can. Relaxing your belly. We hold our belly in a lot without even knowing it. This is a soft belly practice. Just letting your belly hang, expand as you breathe in. Just continuing to relax and soften. Just noticing any tension you might be holding in your arms or legs. And letting go as much as you can. And if you can't, just offer kindness to your body. Breathing in, aware of breathing in. breathing out, aware of breathing out. I invite you at the bottom of the out breath to just rest and pause there for half a minute, half a moment. Be aware of your body transitioning from the out breath to the in breath. What does that feel like? What do you notice? Letting your attention ride the in breath, sensations of the body breathing in, the belly and the chest expanding. Maybe the shoulders rising a little bit. The sensations in your nose. And I invite you, if it's comfortable, pause for a split moment at the top of the in breath. Notice the sensations of your body transitioning to an out breath, all on its own. And the sensations as your awareness rides the out breath all the way down to the bottom. Breathing in, aware of breathing in. Breathing out, aware of breathing out. Letting your attention just rest comfortably on the sensations of the body breathing, however that works for you. When your mind wanders off from the breath, which it will do, it's what it's supposed to do. The lungs breathe, the eyes see, the ears hear, the mind generates thoughts. And without getting involved in the process or whatever you're thinking about or the story, or the narrative, just notice thinking as a phenomenon in itself. Thinking, just as the thought, not the content of the thought. The thought might feel like it's happening, but the only thing that's actually happening is you're sitting here in the present moment. Let go of the thought gently, without rebuke of any kind. And just let your attention come back to the sensations of the body breathing. Again and again. If it helps, when you breathe in, just say quietly to yourself, in. And when you breathe out, just say quietly to yourself, out. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, I invite you to bring the energy, the calmness, whatever centeredness you may have received from this meditation with you off the cushion or the chair as you walk around in the world in your homes. Let it accompany you as kindness, compassion, to see through the eyes of loving kindness and compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And may it be that the benefits of this meditation allow you to walk through the world and spread that kind of energy effortlessly. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. And may we help bring that to the world. Thank you for your practice. As I said before, it's a pleasure to be here. And we're continuing our walk through the Brahma Viharas, the four boundless compassions, or the four boundless states. Those being loving kindness, which teaches us a way of being in the world. Compassion, which protects kindness from falling into a kind of sentimentality and helps us keep our hearts open. Sympathetic joy and equanimity. And as I mentioned before, if you were here last week, you may recall we covered loving kindness and compassion. And this week, we're going to talk about sympathetic joy, or mudita, and equanimity. Sympathetic joy simply when goodwill encounters someone else's happiness, rejoicing in others' happiness and prosperity. The opposite is jealousy, envy, or taking pleasure in the misfortunes of others. Mudita is the antidote for malice and ill will. Many of us suffer from the comparison disease. We look at this person or this thing and they say, well, they're doing it better, or they're getting it better, they're getting more of it, whatever it is. And that becomes a negative assessment about ourselves. We perceive ourselves negatively in the light of what we perceive others' success to be. And that's actually a poison. Comparison is the thief of joy. It does not lead to joy. And I've had this experience. I was a therapist in private practice for about 20 years or so. Getting a private practice off the ground is a project. It's difficult. First, you have one client, then you have none, then you have three, then you have one, then you have five, then you have two. And it kind of goes like that. And it's also a truth. This is not a sexist comment. It's also a truth that attractive women build their practices faster. People go to psychologytoday.com and surf the listings of therapists, and they pick the pictures they like first. Whether they're doing it consciously or unconsciously, I don't know, but it's a verifiable phenomenon. And some friends of mine were seemingly effortlessly building these really busy practices while I was like struggling along. And I felt a little envious. And also I realized that that energy was not helping me. Because what we focus on grows. The energy we give out into the world comes back. It's one of the definitions of karma. And I had to look at that. And one of the things that the Dharma asks us on a regular basis is, who do I want to be when I show up? I don't want to be the guy who's envious of other people's joy. I want to be the guy who celebrates that. One friend of mine said one antidote to that is what he called the damn I'm good. You know, as a therapist, sometimes you really feel like you know what you're doing. Sometimes you feel like you really don't know what you're doing, right? Your practice is slowing down, or it's not what you want, what you think you want. And you just say, damn, I'm good. You just say, get your damn I'm good on. So if you're struggling with whatever it is you're struggling with, and you're thinking you're not doing whatever it is well enough, I would like to suggest you get your damn I'm good on in those situations. And when we witness somebody else having joy and accomplishment or whatever that is, we say, wow, how cool is that? And the enemy of that is, oh man, I wish I, because it all comes to us anyway. And Thich Nhat Hanh had a little thing with this. He said, I am happy that you are happy. May your happiness last. May your happiness grow. May your happiness and good fortune radiate. I like that. It's an attitude of abundance versus scarcity. And I get it. It's easy for me to talk about abundance in my white upper middle class Florida enclave, right? Where I don't have to worry about where my next meal is going to come from or if I'm safe walking around in the world. But abundance is an attitude, and I'll say more about that. It's the attitude that there's plenty to go around. And we don't hear a lot about sympathetic joy. We do hear a lot about being a productive member. Right? We don't hear a lot about being a joyous person. One of my favorite stories of John Lennon, that John Lennon used to tell, the great sage, John Lennon. He wrote, when I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand life. I love that. I should like hang it up on the wall somewhere. There was a singer who appeared on television in one of those competition shows, unbelievably talented, and was in stage 4 cancer, but she had like this joyous thing going on. Her name was Nightbird. Some of you may have seen her. Insanely talented. And she said, you can't wait until life isn't hard before you decide to be happy. And Jill Shepherd, the New Zealand meditation teacher, said she insisted on mudita, on sympathetic joy right now. She said it is precisely because there's so much suffering in the world that I've needed to make the effort to turn towards non-suffering, towards gladness or joy, in order to restore myself so that I can face these challenges. And she was right. Joy is restorative. It can be akin to a good meal. It nourishes us. It's necessary. We can't wait until everything is okay, because that just comes and goes. I was in India, been blessed to be able to go to India on Buddhist pilgrimage twice. And last time, one of the things you do on pilgrimage is you walk to the Ganges in Varanasi, India. And to get to the Ganges, you have to walk through really some of the worst slums in India. And it's heartbreaking to look at. I'm not going to try to describe it to you. But I met this guy on the side of the river. He was begging for alms, and he was dressed like Shiva, because some of them believe dressing like the gods brings them closer to the gods. And I'm sure everything he owned he was wearing, and his little cup for alms. But he had this joyous thing going on. It like radiated off him like fire. He was like laughing. And I was like, I want some of that. He probably had dysentery from drinking rice paddy water. And all the Hindi I know, which you're hearing right now, and all the English he knows, which was much more Hindi than I knew, I was like, how do you do it? And he said, big grin, vertical, above ground, all good. Motto for life. I got stuff going on. I got some health issues, and there's always some family drama. Jack Kornfield said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. But I'm okay. How about that? And mudita, sympathetic joy, asks us the question, as I said before, who do I want to be when I show up? Do I want to be the dour guy who just joins in the sadness, or do I want to bring joy and sort of try to radiate that? And that's closely tied to equanimity. Equanimity is being able to move through the world without attachment, excuse me, without attachment to my voice holding out, without attachment or aversion. When you encounter suffering, you can't not to stop and turn away, no matter how hard it is. There's a cringe, right? When we see suffering, we cringe, but then something comes next. Equanimity is the quality of avoiding creating additional suffering. It's the art of recognizing that you are having an unpleasant experience, and you may be upset, and still being able to decide that you are okay at the same time. Because just because I'm having a difficult experience doesn't mean I'm not okay. If I'm not okay, I'm not feeling anything. And I've been there and I've done that. I'm a recovering addict. I know what it's like to walk through the world numb. It's an attitude of just not getting sucked in and overwhelmed. Even though I feel sucked in and overwhelmed, there's a core that I can experience of still being able to decide that I'm okay at the same time. That's equanimity. I'm not attached to it needing to be different, and I'm not averse to the way it is. And when things are going well, I'm not clinging to that, because all things are impermanent anyway. If I cling to it, then it fades, and now I'm suffering. And if the word turns difficult, not to just meet it with that. Joyfully participate. Sylvia Boorstein, one of the Spirit Rock teachers, who wrote, don't just do something, sit there. says the ability of the mind to accommodate passion without losing balance. I like that. It's the mind that sees clearly and meets experience with cordial intent. Cordial intent. To be moved sometimes intensely and to remain balanced. To walk through the slums of Varanasi and witness the children starving on the street, and the water buffaloes and the cow dung and the people begging and all of that, and still be okay, though grieving. It's about responding to difficult situations with compassion, not with aversion. And it's a challenge, and maybe it's the most important challenge. You know, it's easy to be equanimous and compassionate with easy people, right? My brother visits me every now and then. He lives in New York. And we laugh the whole time that he's here. He's like, in high school, we called him Jesus of Cool. He's just like this very cool individual. His apartment looks like, he's a designer. His apartment looks like the front cover of Architectural Digest. And it's effortless. And we have a great time. But there are people who annoy me through no fault of their own. This is my experience of them. People who hurt us, people who hurt others. People on the other side of the extremely polarized and intolerant political spectrum, intolerant on both sides. People we don't even care about. It's hard to practice equanimity in those situations, but that makes it even more, all the more important. The art of knowing you're okay when you don't feel okay in a difficult situation. And we can recognize and look at that and say, oh, this person is suffering. And this is what that looks like. Not this person is doing this to me, because frankly, if you stepped out of the situation and someone stepped in your place, they'd be doing it to them. This person is suffering. Probably 25, maybe 30 years ago, early in my recovery, we were outside an AA meeting in Saratoga, California, waiting for the guy to come with the key and let us in. And this guy shows up. He's looking a little disheveled, and he's dressed in a suit that looks like he slept in, with a white shirt, very narrow tie. And he says he's with the FBI. And he wants to see the meeting roster and all the phone numbers. He wants to write down everybody's name, and people are not cooperating with this. And I was a fairly newly licensed therapist at the time, but I knew what psychotic looked like. The guy was having an episode. And I don't know why it is true, but one of the common delusions of schizophrenia is people think they're with the FBI. It's a measure, it's like a known phenomenon. And people were scared, and I stepped back and I was scared, because people who are in that space are unpredictable. And someone was like, why don't we call the police? Someone was like, why don't we call an ambulance? Can we look at that person and say, oh, this person is suffering deeply, and have it as an opportunity for compassion? That's what equanimity is. Recognizing it and finding expression. I was in Santa Cruz. I used to live in California. You haven't figured that out by now. I was in a coffee house in Santa Cruz. You know you're in a coffee house in Santa Cruz because there's 12 different pour overs, and there's someone saying next to you saying, I want a little of this one, a little that one, a little this one, a little that, and that's too much of that, and not too much foam, right? That's how you know you're in Santa Cruz. And there was a homeless guy, a well-known homeless guy at the bar, and he was very agitated. And he just wanted a cup of coffee, and he didn't have any money. He's getting agitated, and the guy behind the counter is getting agitated, and they're starting to like do this. And I just like tapped the guy on the shoulder, and he looked at me, he was like surprised. I said, "Hey man, are you having a rough day?" All he wanted was to feel seen. And the energy went, and I bought him a cup of coffee because, what's $1.25? But to look at somebody who's acting out and say, and we still have to be safe and protect ourselves, and say, oh, they're acting out their pain. That's what equanimity looks like. The Brahma Viharas help us open our hearts. The two wings of the Dharma: wisdom, compassion. The wisdom to discern when to act, when not to act. The compassion to allow our hearts to be open. Even when it hurts, compassion can be painful. Wisdom helps us discern what's possible and what's not. It helps us see cause and effect. That guy in the coffee shop, he had an entire backstory that none of us knew about, but he was just suffering in that moment. Early on in my counseling career, I was very lucky to work in the hospice, the VA hospice, Menlo Park, California. And my supervisor was a woman named Jeannie Dupro, who wrote this book, The Earth House. And one day, like it's nothing, she says, oh, my book came out. And then I went to see her read, and I was like, it's one of the best books I've ever read ever. She and her partner, Sylvia, bought land in the Sonoma foothills outside San Francisco, where Sherry Huber was building a monastery, and Sherry was selling off pieces of land. Sherry's written books like That What You Are Seeking Is Causing You to Seek, and the key in the name of the key is willingness. So she and Sylvia bought a piece of land, and Sylvia got cancer and died, which you find out early on in the book. But she wrote, there is no end to suffering for my striving, failing ego self. It's ego's nature to suffer, and no wisdom is going to improve its nature any more than I can improve an apple so radically it becomes an orange. It's only outside the ego that there is any end to suffering in sight. Each of the bricks that pave the path must be a pain accepted, a thwarting of the ego. This is the part I've kind of memorized. No one who has ever tried it says this path is easy. It's only preferable to the alternative, which leads down into fear and endless scrambling, desperate scrambling, and the death of the spirit. Nothing guarantees that if I accept my pain, that I will be a happy person. This path is not concerned with happiness in the ordinary sense of the word, but with a higher kind of joy. What Buddhists call a joyful participation in the sorrows of the world. Joseph Campbell, in The Hero with 1,000 Faces, suggested, do something kind for someone you don't know for no apparent reason and just see what happens. So I invite you to find your path with the Brahma Viharas. And thank you all for your kind attention. Any questions, comments? Ken, go back to being a cab driver, which isn't as far afield from being a therapist as you might think. Alrighty then. It really has been one of the pleasures of my life to be able to do 2 weeks in a row with you guys. Ellen, were you going to say something?
Just going to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you from me as well.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Julie.
thank you. I really like Sherry Huber.
Yeah, isn't she great?
Nothing happens next. That's
Yeah.
what I'm reading. One of the ones I haven't read at first. Yeah.
The one that turned me on to her was The Key, and the name of the key is
Willingness.
where she says the way you think you are is not the way you are, it's just the way you think you are.
She's fantastic. And easy to read. All the print is, you
She's
know,
very accessible, and I like that she does it in like looks like handwritten manuscript.
handwriting. Easy handwriting to read.
Yeah. So
Anyway, thank you again.
thank you all.
And good night, everybody.
Night.